Oh hi. Saudi Arabia, the largest state on Arabian Peninsula. Borders on Jordan, Iraq and Kuwait in the north, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates in the east, Oman in the southeast and Yemen in the south. It is washed by the Persian Gulf in the northeast and the Red Sea in the west. Saudi Arabia is often called the country of two shrines, meaning Mecca and Medina, two main sacred towns of Islam. The short name of the country in Arabic is Saudia. Saudi Arabia now, one of 3 states of the world having the name given in honor of a ruling dynasty. Saudis. Along with the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. In power there is a dynasty Hashemitov and the Principality of Liechtenstein. Possession of princes a background Liechtenstein. Saudi Arabia, with her enormous reserves of oil, the main state of the organization of the countries exporters of oil. OPEC. In 2015 I won first place in the world on export of oil, in 2017 the second place on oil production. After Russia. Export of oil makes 95% of export and 75% of income of the country. After association of Ned, Hijaz, Al-Jas and Qatif to the uniform state under the leadership of the charismatic leader Abi of Al-Aziz by the royal decree of September 23, 1932, the new state was given the name Al-Mamlakatu al-Arabiyatu as-Saudiya. This name is usually translated into other languages as Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, though literally it means the Saudi Arab Kingdom or the Arab Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The word Saudi in the name of the country comes from an element as Saudia that is the Nisbi, formed from a surname ruling dynasty of Saudi Arabia, Al-Said Saudis. Inclusion of this element in the name of the country shows that the country is personal possession of the royal family. Al-Said, the Arab name formed by addition of the Labama component that is meant by family or house to a personal name of the ancestor. In relation to Saudis, it is the founder and the first governor of the first Saudi state, Turiski Emirate, Muhammad ibn Said. UK 1710-1765. Saudi Arabia occupies about 80% of the territory of Arabian Peninsula. Because national borders of the state are accurately not defined, exact Saudovskoye Iravi square is unknown. According to official data, it makes 2,217,949 km. On others, from 1,960,582 km. Up to card came. Anyway, Saudi Arabia is the 13th in area state in the world. In the west of the country, along the coast of the Red Sea, the mountain chain of Labama Hijaz is stretched. In the southwest, height of mountains reaches 2,500 meters. The highest point of Saudi Arabia, top of Jabal el-Luz. In the same place, Kurorti district, Asur, attracting tourists with the greens and soft climate, is located. The east is engaged in the basic with deserts. The south and the southeast of Saudi Arabia are occupied almost completely by the desert of Rub Labama Kali, through which there passes the border with Yemen and Oman. The most part of the territory of Saudi Arabia is occupied by deserts and semi-deserts, which are populated with the wandering Bedouin tribes. The population is concentrated around several large cities, as they rule in the west or in the east at the coast. On the surface divides the most part of the country, the extensive desert plateau. Height from 300–600 m in the east up to 15–20 m in the west, which is poorly dismembered by dry beds of the rivers. Wadi. In the west, parallel to the coast of the Red Sea, mountains Hijaz were stretched. The Arab barrier and the Seir Arab difficult 2500–3000 m high, with the highest point, the mountain of En-Nebi Shuaib, 3353 m, passing into the coastal lowland Tihama. Width from 5 to 70 km. In mountains Asir the relief changes from mountain tops to large valleys. Passes through mountains Hijaz aren't enough. The message between internal regions of Saudi Arabia and coast of the Red Sea is limited. In the north, along borders of Jordan, the stony El Jamad desert was stretched. In a northern and central part of the country, the largest sandy deserts are located. Big Nefed and Small Nefed. Bekna, known for the red sands. In the south and the southeast, Rubla Bamakali, the Arab, an empty quarter, with barkans and ridges in a northern part up to 200 m. Through deserts and certain borders with Yemen, Oman and the United Arab Emirates lie. The total area of deserts reaches about 1 million km, including Rubla Bamakali minus 777,000 km. Along the coast of the Persian Gulf, the boggy are covered with saline soils lowland, up to 150 km wide. Of El Jas was stretched by places. Sea coast mainly low, sandy, poorly cut up. Climate in Saudi Arabia extremely droughty. Arabian Peninsula, one of the few places on Earth where in the summer temperature constantly exceeds 50 C. Snow drops out only in mountains Jizan in the west of the country, and not every year. Average temperature in January is from 8 C to 20 C in the cities in the desert area and from 20 C to 30 C on the coast of the Red Sea. In the summer temperature in a shadow fluctuates from 35 C to 43 C. At night in the desert sometimes it is possible to face temperatures close to 0 C as sand quickly gives heat which is saved up in a day. Average annual level of rainfall is 100 mm. In the center and in the east of Saudi Arabia rains go exclusively late winter and in the spring, whereas in the west only in the winter. Saudi Arabia is almost completely drainless area. Temporary waterways are formed after intensive rains. The largest, the Wadi Arum, Isarkan, Adavasir, Bishar, Nadzranan. After rare heavy rains of the Wadi sometimes turn into powerful mud streams. Oases are dated for the Wadi. On sands the white saxol, a camel prickle, on hamada, lichens, on lava fields, a wormwood, an astragola, on courses of the Wadi, single a poplar, an acacia, and in more Zasoliani places, a tamarisk in places grow. On coasts and saline soils, califitni bushes. The considerable part of sandy and stony deserts is almost completely deprived of a vegetable cover. In the spring and in damp years as a part of vegetation the role of ephemeral plants amplifies. In mountains Assyria, sites of savannas where acacias, wild olives, almonds grow. In oases, groves of date palm trees, citrus, bananas, grain and garden crops. The fauna is quite various. Antelope, gazelle, daemon, wolf, jackal, hyena, fox, gadgets, caracal, hare. It is a lot of rodents. Gerbils, gophers, jerboas, etc. And reptiles. A snake, a lizard, a turtle. Among birds, eagles, kites, signature stamps, falcons, sapsons, bustards, larks, ryabki, quails, pigeons. Coastal lowlands serve as the center of reproduction of a locust. In the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf more than 2,000 types of corals. The black coral is especially appreciated. 39.64% of the space of the country are occupied by 128 protected areas. In the mid-80s the government organized National Park Asir where such almost disappeared species of wild animals remain as an Nubian mountain goat. The territory of present Saudi Arabia, the historical homeland of the Arab tribes which originally lived in the northeast and in the 2 millennium BB occupied all Arabian Peninsula. At the same time Arabs assimilated the Negroid population of the southern part of the peninsula. Since the beginning of the I millennium BB in the south of the peninsula there were Minaski and Sabaski kingdoms. As their transit shopping centers there were most ancient cities of Hijaz, Mecca and Medina. In the middle of the 6th century Mecca united neighboring tribes and reflected the Ethiopian invasion. At the beginning of the 7th century in Mecca the Prophet Muhammad began to preach Islam. In 622 he moved in an oasis of Yathrib, future Medina, which became the center of the arising Arab state. From 632 to 661 year Medina was the residence of caliphs and the capital of the Arab Caliphate. After resettlement of the Prophet Muhammad to Yathrib called later by Medina, the city of the Prophet. In 622 the contract between Muslims led by the Prophet Muhammad and local Arab and Judaic tribes was signed. Not all local Jews accepted Islam, and through some time of the relation between Arabs and Jews accepted frankly hostile character. In 632 with the capital in Medina the Arab Caliphate which captured practically all territory of Arabian Peninsula was founded. By the time of the beginning of government of the second Caliph Umar ibn Khattab, 634, all Jews were expelled from Hijaz. The rule according to which in Hijaz, and today, in Medina and in Mecca, not Muslims have no right to live belongs to the same time the source isn't specified 2306 days. As a result of gains by the 9th century the Arab state was stretched in the territory of all Middle East, Iran, Central Asia, Transcaucasia, North Africa and also Southern Europe. The Iberian Peninsula, the islands of the Mediterranean Sea. In the 16th century in Arabia the Turkish dominion began to be established. By 1574 the Ottoman Empire headed by the Sultan Selim II finally conquered Arabian Peninsula. Using weak political will of the Sultan Mahmud I. 1730-1754. Arabs began to make the first attempts in construction of own statehood. The Arab families most influential at the time in Hijaz were Sauda and Rashidi. Origin of the Saudi state began in 1744 in the central region of Arabian Peninsula. The governor of the city Adiriya Muhammad ibn Said and the Islamic preacher Muhammad ibn Abi Labama Wahhab united with the purpose of creation of the uniform powerful state. This alliance concluded in the 18th century Saudav laid the foundation of the dynasty ruling to this day. After a while the young state with the capital in Adiri underwent pressure from the Ottoman Empire concerned by strengthening of Arabs at the southern borders and conquest by them of Mecca and Medina. In 1817 the Ottoman Sultan dispatched to Arabian Peninsula troops under Muhammad Ali Pasha command which crushed rather weak army of the Imam Abdallah. Thus, the first Saudi state existed 73 years. In spite of the fact that Turks managed to destroy rudiments of the Arab statehood in only 7 years. In 1824, the second Saudi state with the capital in Riyadh was founded. This state existed 67 years and was destroyed by old enemies Saudav Rashidi's dynasty it is from Hale. The family Saudav was forced to flee to Kuwait. In 1902 22-year-old Abdulaziz from family Saudav captured Riyadh, having dealt shortly with the governor from family Rashidi. In 1904 Rashidi asked for the help the Ottoman Empire. Those sent the troops, but this time got beaten and were removed. In 1912 Abdulaziz occupied all region Net. In 1920, using material support of British, Abdulaziz finally broke Rashidi. In 1925 Mecca was captured. On January 10, 1926 Abdulaziz Labama Said was declared the King of Hijaz. In 1927 Great Britain recognized independence of the kingdom. In several years Abdulaziz took practically all Arabian Peninsula. On September 23, 1932 Najd and Hijaz were united in one state called Saudi Arabia. Abdulaziz became the King of Saudi Arabia. In March 1938 in Saudi Arabia enormous oil fields were found. Because of the beginning of World War II their development began only in 1946, and to 1949 in the country there was already well-adjusted oil industry. Oil became a source of wealth and prosperity of the state. In World War II Saudi Arabia a long time observed a neutrality, however, kind for the anti-Hitlerite coalition. In 1941 she broke off diplomatic relations with Germany, in 1942 with Italy. In 1943 the USA extended operation of the law on a Lend-Lease to Saudi Arabia. In February 1945 the kingdom declared war of Germany, but weren't involved in fighting of her army. The first king of Saudi Arabia conducted rather isolationist policy. In the country didn't become the member of the League Nazi. To the death in 1953 he left the country only 3 times. Nevertheless, in 1945 Saudi Arabia was among founders of the Union and League of Arab States. The successor Abdulaziz became his son Said. His unreasoned domestic policy led to the fact that in the country there was a coup. Said ran to Europe, the power passed to his brother Faisal. Faisal brought a huge contribution to development of the country. Atom oil production volume repeatedly increased that allowed to undertake a number of social reforms in the country and to create modern infrastructure. In 1973, having demanded return of Jerusalem, and having removed the Saudi oil from all trading floors, Faisal provoked in the Western energy crisis. His radicalism found understanding not among all, and 2 years later Faisal was shot by own nephew. After his death, at the King Khalid, the foreign policy of Saudi Arabia became more moderate. After Khalid, the throne was succeeded by his brother Fahd, in 2005, Abdallah, and in 2015, Salman. The United States House of Representatives accuses the government of Saudi Arabia of participation in terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. Submitted the first claim to Saudi Arabia. Stephanie Ross Desmond, whose spouse died at collision of the plane seized by fighters with the building of the Pentagon. On March 10, 2011, in the city of Labama Qatif, the police opened fire at the holding a meeting Shiites who demanded to release their brothers in faith from prisons. 3 persons were wounded during disorders. Meetings in Saudi Arabia are banned by the Ministry of Internal Affairs since the beginning of March 2011 on the ground that demonstrations and processions contradict Sharia. Then the police acquired the right to apply any means to suppression of illegal meetings. On October 4, 2011, there were disorders in East Province inhabited generally by Shiites. The Saudi authorities consider the tensions are raised from abroad, generally by Iran. As a result of disorders on suspicion of terrorism, the Shiite Ayatollah An-Nim was arrested. On January 2, 2016, he was executed. The population of Saudi Arabia in 2021 was 34,783,757 people. As of 2019, according to the Union, immigrants make 38.3% of the total number of the population of the country. Urban population minus 84.5%. 2021. Total coefficient of birth rate for 2021, 1.95 births on the woman. Literacy minus 95.3%. Men minus 97.1%, women minus 92.7%. 2017. About 12.84% of the population the age group up to 15 years makes 83.53%, from 15 to 65 years, 3.63% are more senior than 65 years. In 2021, the birth rate was estimated at 14.56 for 1,000 the population, mortality minus 3.39 on 1,000, immigration minus 5.04 on 1,000, increase in population was 1.62%. Infantile mortality minus 12.58 on 1,000 newborns. The expected life expectancy of the population as of 2021, 76.4 years, at men minus 74.81 years, and at women minus 78.07 years. Average age of the population as of 2020, 30.8 years. Men minus 35 years, women minus 27.9 years. %81% of the population of Saudi Arabia are concentrated in the cities. The largest city, the capital of the kingdom, its political, cultural, besides places of worship, and scientific center, Riyadh, with the population more than 7 million people. Jeddah, the second largest city of the country, it's the economic capital, the major port on the Red Sea. Mecca and Medina, being some of the largest cities of the country, are symbols of Saudi Arabia and the sacred cities of Islam. As a rule, during a Hajj at the expense of pilgrims from all Muslim world, the population of Mecca can double in this connection. In it, the world's largest 10 towns, parkings and the high-carrying country's first subway are built. An important role in national economy is played by ports on the Persian Gulf. Dammam, the world's largest bulk oil, double and half tea. In the same cities, the main oil processing capacities are concentrated. Medina, population card man. Mecca, population card man. The state system of Saudi Arabia is defined by the basic law of the kingdom carrying the name the main two bottoms of Board of Saudi Arabia, which was adopted in 1992. According to him, Saudi Arabia is the absolute monarchy operated by sons and grandsons of the first King Abdulaziz. The law is based on the Islamic rite. Theoretically, the power of the king is limited only to Sharia. The head of state is the king. Now Saudi Arabia, the son of the founder of the country, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Masoud, from a dynasty of Saudis, directs. The major state decrees are signed after consultations with ulama, group of religious leaders of the state, and other important acts of the Saudi society. All branches of the power are subordinated to the king. The successor of a throne is appointed the king after election as his Council of Devotion, founded according to the law of 2006. At the same time, inheritance of a throne happens from the brother to the brother. Among sons of the king there is Abi of Al-Aziz, and only after there is no left of them, to the senior from the next generation. The female line in succession isn't considered. Executive power in the form of Council of Ministers consists of the Prime Minister, the First Deputy Prime Minister and 20 ministers. All portfolios are distributed between relatives of the king and are appointed him. The legislature is presented in the form of a certain similarity of Parliament Advisory Assembly, Ashur's Majlis. All 150 members of Advisory Assembly are appointed the king to 4-year term. Political parties are under a ban, some act in an underground. In 2011, the decision to allow appointment in council and women was made. Judicial authority represents the system of religious courts where judges are appointed the king on representation of the Supreme Judicial Council. The Supreme Judicial Council in turn consists of 12 people who are also appointed by the king. The law guarantees independence of court. The king performs as the highest judicial authority with the right of amnesty. Even municipal authorities till 2005 in the country weren't elected, and were appointed. In 2005 the authorities made the decision to carry out the first more than in 30 years municipal elections. Women and also military personnel are debarred from vote. Besides, not all structure of local councils but only a half was elected. Other half is still appointed by the government. On February 10, 2005 in Riyadh the first stage of municipal elections took place. Only men at the age of 21 years were allowed to participation in them and are more senior. The second stage passed on March 3 in 5 regions in the east and the southwest of the country, the third, on April 21 in 7 regions in the north and the west of the country. In the first tour, all 7 seats in Council of Riyadh were received by candidates who were either imams of local mosques, or teachers of traditional Islamic schools, or the staff of the Islamic charitable organizations. The same alignment of forces repeated also in other regions. The King Abdallah, who occupied a throne in 2005, sought to reform the judicial system of the country. He even signed a relevant decree in October 2007. But to enter direct confrontation with the most influential Saudi Institute of Judges treating Sharia and being a stronghold of conservative forces in the country, the king didn't become. Besides, he understood need of very careful reforming of the Islamic system of the country. Rules of this system legitimized the right of a dynasty Saudav on a country throne. Saving image of Saudi Arabia on the international scene, the King Abdallah used practice of royal pardons in especially contradictory situations, as in a case with rape of the girl from Labama Katafan. The criminal law is based on laws of Sharia. In the country, extremely low official crime rate that is explained by closeness of the country and also to what Sharia doesn't welcome to report about offenses in police. Oral or written discussions of the existing political system are prohibited by the law. In the country, the use and turnover of alcohol and drugs and also gamblings are strictly forbidden. For theft, cutting off of a brush is necessary. Illegitimate sexual relationship is punished from punishment by lashes before the death penalty. The homosexuality is punished by the death penalty. For murder, blasphemy and sorcery. Prediction of the future, guessing, damage targeting, a love spell and similar. The death penalty is necessary. In March 2013, the Court of Riyadh sentenced employees from ENPO, Saudi Association of the Civil and Political Rights, Abdullah of Al-Hamid and Mohammed Al-Kaktan to 11 and 10 years of prison respectively for harming public order and for the establishment of the unlicensed organization. In May 2014, the message that the blogger Raif Badavi was sentenced to 10 years of imprisonment and 1,000 blows by a lash for insult of Islam appeared. Application of tortures is widespread. At the same time, courts trust confession even if they are received under tortures or pressure. According to Amnesty International human rights organization, the policy of Saudi Arabia in the field of human rights has to be exposed to bigger criticism of Shah. Insufficiency of efforts of the state in prevention and eradication of human trafficking is noted. Saudi Arabia, the popular destination for sale of people in labor and sexual slavery. The foreign policy of Saudi Arabia is focused on preservation behind the kingdom of key positions on Arabian Peninsula, among the Islamic states and the export states of oil. Diplomacy of Saudi Arabia protects and advances the interests of Islam around the world. Despite an allied relationship with the West, Saudi Arabia often is exposed to criticism for financing of Islamic extremists. It is known that Saudi Arabia was one of 3 states which recognized the first government of Talibs in Afghanistan. Saudi Arabia is the homeland of the former leader of the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization Osama bin Laden. Difficult relations develop also with Iran, as both Saudi Arabia and Iran, being the centers of 2 main branches of Islam, apply for informal leadership in the Islamic world. Saudi Arabia is a key dick in such organizations as League of Arab States, the Gulf Cooperation Council, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. The USA was the first non-Arab country which recognized the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1926. In 1990, diplomatic relations from the People's Republic of China at the consular level were established. In 2007, diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and the Holy See were established. In February 2021, the agreement between the government of the Russian Federation and the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on military cooperation is published. The economy of Saudi Arabia is based on oil industry, which makes 45% of gross domestic product of the country. 75% of budget revenues and 90% of export are made by export of oil products. Explored reserves of oil make 260 billion barrels. 24% of explored reserves of oil on Earth. Saudi Arabia plays a key role of destabilizing producer in the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, by means of which regulates the world prices for oil. Strengths: huge reserves of oil and gas and the excellent accompanying processing industry. Tourism: a large income from 2 million pilgrims to Mecca in a year. Weaknesses: professional education isn't developed. High subventions on food. Import of the majority of consumer goods and industrial raw materials. High unemployment rate among youth. Dependence of well-being of nation on ruling family. The reliability of stocks is called into question by publications of WikiLeaks. In the 1990s, the country experienced the economic downturn connected with drop in oil prices and at the same time huge increase in population. Because of this, DDD per capita for several years I fell from $2,500 to $7,000. In 1999 in OPEC, the decision sharply was made to reduce oil production volume that led to jump in prices and helped to correct the situation. In 1999, extensive privatization of the enterprises of power industry and telecommunications began. In December 2005, Saudi Arabia entered the World Trade Organization. Export oil 65%, and oil products 8.3%, and also various chemical compounds, polymers, alcohols, air, drugs and fertilizers up to 19.5%. $170 billion 2017. The main buyers: China 17%, Japan 15%, India 11%, the USA 10%, South Korea 10%, Singapore 5%. Import the industrial equipment, food, chemical products, cars, textiles. $96.2 billion 2017. The main suppliers: China 19%, the USA 8%, Germany 7.5%, South Korea 5.4%, India 5.2%. In the odd years, the role of China sharply increased in foreign trade of the kingdom. In 2002, commodity turnover of Beijing and Riyadh was $5.1 billion, and in 2008 already $41.8 billion. Total length of highways is 221,372 km. From them, with a hard coating -47530 km. Without hard coating -173,843 km. In Saudi Arabia, women, any nationality, till 2006 were forbidden to drive the car. This norm was accepted in 1932 as a result of conservative interpretation of provisions of the Quran. Today, before execution of 30 years, the woman can drive the car only in the presence of the husband, the father, or the brother. Railway transport represents several hundreds of kilometers of the railroads of a standard track of 1435 connecting Riyadh with the main ports in the Persian Gulf. Control of the railroads of the country is exercised of two state companies. Organization of the Saudi Railroads and Saudi Railway Company. In 2005, the North, the South project providing construction of the railway line 2400 km long and worth over $2 billion was started. At the beginning of 2008, Just Russian Railways won the tender for construction of the site of the railroad, the North, the South, 520 km long and worth $800 million. However, in May 2008, results of the tender were cancelled, and the president of the Russian Railway 5, Yakunin, called this decision political. In October 2018, opening of a 450-kilometer branch of Al Haramain connecting Mecca and Medina took place. Air transport. Passenger Airlines of Saudi Arabia. Al Maha Airlines, Internal Airlines. Airbus A320 fleet. Flynas, budgetary airline, internal and international transport. Saudi Arabian Airlines, flagman airline of Saudi Arabia, internal and international airlines. Saudi Gulf Airlines, internal airlines. Airbus A320 and Bombardier Seas fleet. Mideast Jet Charter Airline. The number of the airports -208, from them 73, with concrete runways, 6 have the status of international. As of March 2014, the subway of Mecca works. The subway of Jeddah and the subway of Riyadh is planned to opening. Total length of pipe highways is 7067 km. From them, oil pipelines -5062 km, gas pipelines -837 km, and also 1187 km of pipes for transportation of liquefied gas. Shulu 212 km for gas condensate and 69 km for transportation of oil products. Enclosed residents of Saudi Arabia adhere to national traditions and canons of Islam, avoiding excessive frankness. Men wear long shirts. A dishdasha. From wool or cotton. A traditional headdress, a gutra. Kufia. In cold time, over a dishdasha, put on a cape from camel wool, most often in dark tones. The women's traditional clothing is ornamented by breeding signs, coins, beads, threads. Leaving the house, the Saudi woman is obliged to cover a body abaya, and the head a hijab. Foreign women need also to carry an underwear, trousers or a long dress. Islam forbids consumption of pork and alcohol. Chickens, grills, falafel, shawarma, kebab, kuza ve maksha. The stuffed vegetable marrows. And also unleavened bread, street traditional food. Practically plentifully add various spices and spices to all dishes. Among favorite drinks of Arabs there are coffee and tea. Their drinking often has ceremonial character. Arabs have black tea with addition of various herbs. The Arab coffee is famous for the traditional fortress. It is drunk small cups, often with addition of cardamom, and used very often. The culture of Saudi Arabia is strongly connected with Islam. Daily 5 times a day the muezzin calls devout Muslims for a prayer. No Hamdan prayer. Service of other religion, distribution of other religious literature, construction of churches, Buddhist temples, synagogues is forbidden. Public theaters and movie theaters are banned from 1980 years. Nevertheless, in communities where live mainly working of the Western countries, for example, Dhaka, similar institutions are available. House video is very popular. Movies of the Western production are practically not exposed to censorship. In 2018 in Saudi Arabia, public movie theaters opened again. For the first time in 35 years there took place the public film session. The full-length American animated film, The Emoji Movie, was shown to the audience. The days off in the country, Friday and Saturday. During an initial stage of the existence, the Saudi state couldn't educate all the citizens' guarantees. Only attendants of mosques and Islamic schools were educated. At such schools people studied to read and write and also studied the Islamic rite. The Ministry of Education of Saudi Arabia was founded in 1954. It was headed by the son of the first King Fahd. In 1957 in Riyadh the kingdom's first university, a name of the King Said, was founded. By the end of the 20th century in Saudi Arabia the system providing to all citizens free education, from preschool to the highest, was installed. Today to specify the education system in the kingdom represents 8 universities, over, schools and a large number of colleges and other educational institutions. More than a quarter of the state annual budget is spent for education. Except free education, the government provides to students all necessary for study, literature and even medical care. The state also sponsors training of the citizens at the foreign universities, mainly in the USA, Great Britain, Canada, Australia, Malaysia. The state broadcasting company SB. Saudi Broadcasting Corporation, the Saudi Broadcasting Corporation, includes Labama Saudia and Saudi 2 TV channels, radio stations of Radio Riyadh, Radio Jeddah and Radio of the Holy Quran. The Saudi news agency broadcasts in various languages including in Russian. In the country the special legislation which regulates work of the internet in the country is drafted. In January 2008 in Saudi Arabia came into force of 16 articles of the new law on use of technologies. According to the law, creation of the websites which protect is forbidden or support terrorism, punishment up to 10 years or a penalty. Fraud and intervention in private life, punishment, restriction of freedom for a period of up to 3 years and a penalty is also forbidden. It is forbidden to spread pornographic materials and others which violate the state law, religious values and norms of public life. Punishment up to 5 years and a penalty. Partnership in crime or even intention on commission of a legal act in the sphere of information technologies can make to a half of the maximum term. In October 2019, the Middle Eastern operator Zain started commercial network 5G in 20 cities of Saudi Arabia. Sports enjoy popularity among young people. Women seldom play sports. If are engaged that in the enclosed space where there are no men. The most popular game, soccer, though the national team of the kingdom participates also in the volleyball, basketball championships and also in the Summer Olympic Games. The soccer national team of Saudi Arabia is considered one of the strongest teams in Asia. 3 times Saudi Arabia became the owner of the Cup of Asia in 1984, 1988 and 1996. Among youth, the drift technology of driving of the car in the operated drift enjoys extreme popularity. Such competitions are prohibited by the law. Often on them doesn't do without the victims, but they steadily gather crowds of motorists, the audience and gapers. The Saudi companies actively invest in a number of popular foreign sports leagues, events, clubs in such sports as soccer, motorsport, boxing and others. One of the purposes of such investments experts call aspiration to improvement of image of the country in the world. Official religion, Islam of Sunni sense. Most of the population professes a Salafiyya. Shiites make about 10–15% of the population of the country and live, generally in east provinces of the country. See Shiites in Saudi Arabia. The authorities of Saudi Arabia allow people of other religion to drive to the country, but departure of a cult is forbidden to them. The source isn't specified. 2306 days. For not-Muslim foreigners driving to Saudi Arabia, there is a ban on visit of the sacred cities of Mecca and Medina. For determination of religious affiliation, the Saudi visa contains the column about religion of the foreigner that allows religious police to develop foreign not-Muslim citizens at entries into the sacred cities. The religious police. Matava. Work in the country. Soldiers of Sharia Guard constantly patrol streets and public institutions for the purpose of suppression of attempts of violation of canons of Islam. In case of violation detection, the guilty person bears the corresponding punishment, from a penalty before beheading. In the country live as well representatives of other religions, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs, Baka. The number of Christians is estimated at 1.2 million people. The largest faiths are presented by Catholics, 1.05 million. And Pentecostals, 83,000. Among immigrants from Egypt, Ethiopia, Eritrea and Lebanon, there are supporters of Drevnevostokny Orthodox churches. About 50,000. Coptic, Ethiopian, Eritrean and Syro-Jacobite. Each adult woman has to have a male close relative as her trustee. The trustee makes a set of important decisions on behalf of the woman, somehow. Permission for the woman to travel, hold some types of licenses for business, to study at the university or college, to work. If the type of employment looks acceptable for the woman. Some authorities all the same ask permission of the trustee even where it under the law isn't required. The woman can't receive medical care without the permission of the husband or trustee. After a case of escape of the woman from the country, the special electronic system that the man/trustee could watch location of the woman was developed. Women are also exposed to discrimination in courts. Equal in the legal system of Saudi Arabia of the testimony of the man to testimonies of two women. The polygamy is authorized to men. They use the unilateral rule of a divorce with the wives, without need in any legal basis. The woman can get a divorce only with the consent of the husband or if it is legally proved that the husband does her harm. In practice, to get a lawful divorce for the Saudi women very difficult. As for right of succession, according to the Quran, a certain part of the fortune of the dead needs to be given to successors. In comparison with the male successor, the woman can receive only a half of property. Sunni Muslims can bequeath a third of property to successors not according to the Quran. The part of inheritance which isn't determined by the will is divided between successors in the male line. Cultural norms limit behavior of the woman on public. Their observance is monitored by religious police. Mutava. Restaurants of the women have to sit in separate, intended for families, sections. Women have to carry the long dress of loose fit hiding all figure, and too close hair. 2 women allowed to drive the car since September 2017 isn't present in a source. In December 2011, the Supreme Religious Council of Saudi Arabia, Majlis al-A'la, upheld the ban on issue of the driving license to women. In 2013, 2 women allowed to ride motorcycles and bicycles, but at escort of the man/trustee and far away from men's crowd that not to cause aggression in the last. Men can marry the girls who reach 10-year age. It is considered the marriage at early age interferes with female education. With puberty arrival, elimination of girls in educational institutions increases as they marry. About 25% of the girls who reached student age don't visit college. In 2005-2006, elimination of women made 60%. According to estimates, the literacy of women is about 70%. Men -85%. Many citizens of Saudi Arabia want more freedom in the country. At the same time, in opinion Kaluna Al-Fasien, isn't present an opportunity to establish how many women wish changes in the social device. The Saudi conservatives reject foreign critics as they aren't able to understand uniqueness of the Saudi society. Some Saudi women could rise by tops of professions or gain fame. For example, Dr. Ghada Al-Mutari heading the Medical Research Center in California, and Dr. Salva Al-Hazar, the head of ophthalmologic office in Hospital of the King Faisal in Riyadh, who was the personal ophthalmologist of the late King Fahd. On June 24, 2011, it was authorized to Saudi sportswomen to participate in the Olympic Games. On September 25, 2011, after the next round of municipal elections, the King Abdullah declared that the Saudi women should grant the right to vote and stand on municipal elections. However, to vote, it is necessary to get permission of the trustee. The International Gender Report of a World Economic Forum of 2010 put Saudi Arabia on gender equality on the 129th place among 134 countries. The United States Department of State considers discrimination of women in Saudi Arabia a vital issue and wishes that women had some political or social rights. In 2017, the King Salman ibn Abdulaziz the expert said it should the decree under which in the country since 2018 it is authorized to women to receive driver's licenses and to drive the car. In June 2018 in Saudi Arabia, the first driving license addressed to the woman was issued. According to data of Thomson Reuters Foundation, which published the rating of the countries of the world most dangerous to women, following the results of 2018, Saudi Arabia takes the 5th position in the list of the states with the greatest number of risks for the woman in respect of healthcare, access to economic resources, usual life, sexual violence and human trafficking. Consist of ground forces, the navies, the air force, troops of air defense, strategic rocket forces and National Guard. The country is divided into 6 military districts. In armed forces of the kingdom 224,500 people serve, including National Guard. The service is contract. To military service also foreign mercenaries are attracted. The number of armed forces continuously grows, so in 1990 they contained only 90,000 men. The main supplier of weapons for the kingdom traditionally are the USA. 85% of all arms. In the country, armored personnel carriers of own development are issued. Saudi Arabia is included into the top 10 of the countries on the amounts of financing of armed forces. The military budget takes away 10-11% of TDD, the highest rate among Gulf states. Military preparation. Number: 80,000 people in 10 crews, including armored, mechanized, airborne, artillery, army aircraft, infantry brigade of Royal Guard. Arms: 1055 tanks, 170 SAU, 238 towed tools, 60 ARZO, 2400 PIRC, 9700 IDS, 300 O, 1900 Z each. Navies of Saudi Arabia. Number: 15.5 thousand people. Consists of western, in the Red Sea, and east, in the Persian Gulf. The fleet is a part of 18 ships and 75 boats. In sea aircraft 31 helicopters, including 21 fighting. Marines. Troops of Coastal Defense. Royal Air Force. Number is 19,000 people. On arms 293 warplanes, 78 helicopters. Forces of Air Defense. Number: 16,000 people. Are united in a uniform system with the USA. Forces of Air Defense consist of surface-to-air missile systems, and anti-aircraft artillery, parts of radio engineering troops. Fighters of the Air Force are under expeditious supervision of Forces of Air Defense. Royal Saudi Strategic Rocket Forces. Number: more than 1,000 people. On arms about 40 Chinese ballistic missiles of average range. 2,000 to 2,800 km, with a warhead up to 2 tons. Dunfin -3. Seas -2. From China in 1987, placed at first on the basis of Le Bomassoul Isle, then also on Al Jafer base approximately in 90 km to the south from the capital. Paramilitary forces. National Guard. 75,000 people in 3 mechanized and 5 infantry brigades, and also a ceremonial cavalry squadron. On arms artillery and the 8th, there are no tanks. The case of boundary protection. 1050 people. In peacetime is under authority of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Coast Guard. 4,500 people. Is 50 patrol boats, 350 motorboats, the Royal Yacht. Security forces. 500 man. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.